What is up, Watch fam? Welcome to not an episode of Ask T&H. Here I have two friends and guests. Please introduce yourself, gentlemen.
No, go ahead.
Alright, my name is Federico. I have a little YouTube channel called Federico where I do Federico Talks Watches. That's a whole lot of Federico.
It's a whole lot of Federico.
Yeah. Okay, I'm TGV. I have a...
in case you've never,
in case you should have
small little channel.
Yeah, I have a very up-and-coming channel that is the Urban Gentry.
We're going to talk about the watches that got us into watches, and then what we went and did with that inspiration. So
it's a long story.
Yeah.
The watch that really got me into it, guys, was not a common one because I've never owned it, but it is the first watch where I remember saying, "Wow, that's beautiful," right? And that was a Breguet Classique, 40 millimeter with an enamel dial.
40.
Must have been 17 years old.
Okay.
I didn't care about watches at all.
Whose watch was it?
Well, here's the thing. My family are jewelers, and I could care less about the family business at 17 years old. I basically cared about two things. I'll let you guys guess what they were. My brother was kind of sitting in the living room. It was Christmas, and he was surfing on Time Zone. Was this 2006? And he's like, "Federico, come over, take a look at this." And man, it was really beautiful. Since then, it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it was easily 2 years after that.
Yeah.
Until I got my first one.
But that's funny because, as we were talking about last time, your taste gets on the crazy side. So to start off with a Breguet Classique,
So refined,
right? Like to start there and then end up.
Well, it's. I wish I could credit the good taste to myself, but family of jewelers, always around jewelry stores. It's heritage. I don't want to be so pompous. It's just I was exposed to it,
right?
Really early on.
Yeah.
And as I said, I could never afford it. I still can't afford it.
Right.
It's a $20,000
Do you think you're ever going to go and buy that?
Absolutely. This is
You gotta do that.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, just the history. I mean, the czars of Russia were Breguet. Napoleon
Napoleon
were Breguet. And, it wasn't until then I started researching watches, never owning one.
Would that be weird if Breguet put out an ad campaign with Napoleon as the... Would that be controversial and just coarse? Maybe
Churchill was another one. They could do something.
That might be good.
Yeah.
But Breguet's getting a lot of flack because not just, but a couple of years ago, they took a picture of the head of the Orthodox Church sitting with Putin, and he was wearing a Breguet Grand Sonnerie. Everybody's like, a priest shouldn't be wearing an $80,000 watch.
I might agree with that.
I think I need to be a priest.
Yeah, I think we're in the wrong place. A YouTube priest.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode of Priest Talk Watches.
And from there, I never owned a watch. Then I got my first job in watches. I was like, what am I good at? I'm good at selling. So I just kind of walked into a boutique one day. I'm like, "You guys hiring?"
I'd like to sell your watches for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And I kind of got hired on the spot. And then 3 years after my passion started, I bought my first luxury watch, which was a Pan 111.
Beautiful.
Panerai 111 Luminor Merino. And
You can't get more Italian than that.
Yeah.
Are
you Italian?
I am Italian.
Yeah.
It kind of spoke to me. Listen, it's not the most sophisticated watch. It's a Unitas movement. But I'm a sucker for history. I made a whole video on my philosophy. Movements are great. Okay, movements are great. Yeah. But for me, tell me a good story.
Yeah, I feel like when I talk about the mass market, I'm talking about appeal, right? That everyone kind of understands. Movements are awesome, but it is a language. I'm very limited. I mean, there's so much that a watchmaker will look at me and say, like, "Listen, buddy," and he's right. But I think that history is much more universal.
That's always one thing, is that the more I learn about movements, there's almost a magic that I would almost prefer not to know.
Yeah.
So it remains more of a mystery.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to know a little bit, but not too much, because when you know what happens behind the curtains, the romance is lost a little bit.
You're right. Let me tell you, if you love watches, last thing you want to do is get in the watch industry.
How about you?
Oh, it was more of a tradition thing. I inherited a beautiful pocket watch from my grandfather, and it was this solid gold thing, and I really didn't value it. I used to wear, obviously I wore normal watches. It's not until I came back to it later on and I started with kind of, like you said, looking at the history of it, and I realized what it meant and the kind of the refinement that went along with it, what it meant to my grandfather, and also because it was something personal to him. And we lost a lot of money in my family. We went through hard times, and it's the only kind of thing that I have a connection.
Sure.
So Charles Frodsham.
Because that was one of the first videos of yours I saw.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a pocket watch. You need a key.
To set the time.
Okay.
And
Wow, the key sets the time.
Yeah, and then it's
You
got the
wind
winder
it
at the
down.
top. Yeah.
Wow.
Because guys, if you didn't know, Britain, particularly Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken, was
Yes.
a large center for watchmaking in the
Really? No, I didn't
1800s.
know.
Frodsham was a London-based, but he also was a royal warrant holder, so he did a lot of kind of fancy watches.
Yeah, sure.
But what is special about it, if you see the inside,
Oh yeah.
that you know that he personally, or maybe one of his sons, did the engraving, was
It's
there
that
working.
personal,
Yeah,
and beautiful. And
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's
And
very
that's
special.
something that we don't market enough. Royal warrant holders, because technically Breguet holds the royal warrant for the Russian family.
Right.
Fabergé still holds the royal warrant. That used to be a sign
Yeah,
of
Well,
the best.
in United Kingdom, it still is. You go to Fortnum's and Masons, or even simple things like Hunter Wellington boots.
Or Purdy shotguns, right?
Yeah, exactly. Purdy. Yeah, I wish I inherited his
Jeez.
Purdy's. Those got sold off.
Long before you came along.
exactly. Hard murder. to
Now
get.
Richemont owned them.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's everything's. You have to dig hard now to
Yeah.
find history because everything's conglomerated.
And then where did you go after that watch? What did you go and buy?
Well, actually, I did. I also inherited a Seiko, a little automatic piece from the 70s.
Very cool.
It was my father's piece, and it was an automatic. Actually, it's very similar to the Saab that I've reviewed. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No, I didn't.
It's a beautiful Japanese domestic model. A very similar aesthetic, only more, obviously, more kind of 70s-esque. And my father came from the polar opposite background. My mother. So for him, that watch was something.
Yeah, so
grand,
very
you know.
meaningful. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So I got to experience two almost extremes of horology, and that kind of gave
And
me
appreciate them both.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's super important. So many people have this very isolated understanding, and getting that full,
Yeah,
broad
absolutely.
sense, 100%.
And let me tell you, I'm very isolated in my understanding. I kind of really know the luxury market. Me and TG became friends. I bought my SKX. And now I get just as excited about getting like an Orient, well, as opposed to something more luxurious. I never thought down upon them, but it just wasn't something I did.
Well, you weren't exposed to it.
Yeah, I never sold a Seiko.
Yeah.
The lowest end I ever sold was probably a Longi.
Right.
So that's kind of where my.
How about you, Christian? We're dying to know.
Yeah, no one in my family loves watches. It's not a watch family by any means. My grandfather was a New York City cab driver, right, in the 70s.
Cool.
Yeah, the 70s, yeah.
Like taxi driver.
Yeah, exactly like that. He had a mustache though. So he wasn't a watch guy, and back then, if you were a cab driver, a lot of them got killed. They were getting robbed and killed.
Yeah.
So people would get in the car and they'd put a gun to your head and give me your watch, give me your money, or you're dead. So he had an Omega that his uncle gave to him. It was a Seamaster from the 50s, a dress model. The chubby case, but it's still actually kind of big. It's like 34.5 millimeters,
Back then,
which is
that's
pretty
big.
big back then, yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy, maybe he's worn it 30 times since 1958. I mean, it does nothing, nowhere. So, which is typical of a taxi driver, because when is he going to wear it, So it was a wedding watch. It was in the sock drawer for weddings, and that was it. So I came upon this watch when I was 7 or 8, and I didn't know nothing about it. What does Omega mean to me? But I guess the history behind it, not the Omega history, his history behind it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what sparked the interest. And then, of course, I started to get into watches a little bit. My dad had a GMT Master, and that's when it really started picking up like a train. And then I bought myself actually the State Chest. So that was my first watch.
How old were you when you
I think I was 17.
17?
Yeah, no,
Nice.
yeah.
What a way to start.
I know.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna buy it. My mom was like, "You want it? Like, go ahead and do it."
Yeah.
And she pushed me, and I did it. So that was my first watch. But definitely the Seamaster was my first real love.
Nice.
I mean, it's a lot of history behind the Seamaster, and it must have been minty fresh.
Oh my
when
God.
we pulled it out.
Yeah, minty fresh.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. It's unfortunately my parents didn't really buy watches for themselves in the 80s, and so my dad which I'll inherit, wears a 34 millimeter solid gold Santos.
Wow.
And I'm a big guy, so it doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, no, you look good.
But it's like the most 80s watch.
Oh yeah, Gordon Gekko.
Yeah.
Wall Street.
And he
Wall
wore the
Street.
two-tone version. This is the gold version, so it's even more like,
Nice.
double-breasted, pinstripe.
It's actually pretty awesome. That quartz.
Yeah, it's awesome, of course.
No, it's awesome. I mean, come on. There are watches that are so indicative of that time.
It's definitely cool, and listen, I'll never wear it, and not because it's quartz, it's because it's 34
Sure,
millimeters.
wear it on one of your fingers. Yeah.
But it's going to be in the watch box, and every time I kind of just want to pretend I'm richer than I am, I'll pull it out.
Pull it out.
Yeah.
Walk around the house with it.
Yeah. That's
Make
awesome.
myself a martini or something.
Nice.
Heritage is obviously a super important thing with some of these old brands. Think about that, the difference between maintaining history, right, in the lineage, and exploiting it. Those are two polar opposites splitting,
I'm a salesman, so I say it's okay to exploit it.
Okay.
Because if you've got it, flaunt it.
That's
However,
great.
buyers beware. Most brands, not most, a lot of brands nowadays are just names.
Yeah.
They were names,
Yeah.
they were someone,
Yeah.
they were stagnant for 130 years. Then comes Tristano. I'll give you $100,000 to buy
the name.
You're allowed to use that name. There's really no connection to the past. All I'm saying is be a little weary when you hear of this history. A lot of it, if you look, there's like 200 years of blank. And you've got to fill it in. So that's why I say if you've got real history, flaunt it.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I don't know, how familiar are you guys with Christian Hagen? He's out in Europe, and he covers watches. He's a watch journalist. Super cool dude.
Is he the Watches TV?
No, he's, I think, Christian Hagen.
Oh, he's Christian.
So his whole philosophy, which I read in a magazine article, was awesome. It was genuinely, I don't necessarily agree with him, but I don't care about history. I don't care about the past. I really genuinely care and value what is in front of me, what is here right now, which I definitely see a downside to. I'm definitely more history, but I appreciate that. It's pure horology, dollar for dollar right now.
That matters.
Yeah.
And I more prefer a brand that doesn't make up a history.
Yeah.
Frederic Constant, since 1980, no past history. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because they didn't invent any history.
Yeah.
And they make really cool watches right now.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for history. I just want it to be real.
Yeah.
I've seen way too many times where it's like, yeah, that kind of happened sometime.
That it may have happened at some point in our existence.
That actually, I've been in meetings where like, yeah, that kind of maybe happened. Oh no, throw it in there. I'm like, okay.
No one's gonna really ask, And whoever asks, no one's gonna listen to them.
It happens all the time, man.
I think it's awesome that we talk about where we came from in a watch sense.
Well, and I know TGV here is a sucker for history. I mean, your whole, if you guys haven't seen this channel, you're crazy, but you do a lot of cultural content.
Yes, it's important. I do feel it's a kind of refinement that's been forgotten about, especially in this day and age, that people, everybody looks, now understand how to do a tie, but they don't understand the difference between a Monet and a Matisse. And it's this kind of, it's just as important as manners and etiquette, if not more.
Yeah.
So I am a little bit obsessed. That's how I was raised.
And it applies in the watch world just as much as in the manners.
Yeah.
But like Christian said, I think it has to be a balance of, what is in front of you is, something decent with a link to the past. And I think, watch companies have exploited,
Every company, car companies, watch everyone. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we use people as metaphors, right? Like I'm still related to those people, even though I might be completely,
Interesting point.
my views, my political
Totally
views,
different, but
might be absolutely different.
Yeah.
I could talk a certain way that but at the end of the day, there is something in that. Link.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's actually quite interesting.
It is. And especially nowadays, when we're getting all these new watch companies that are fighting for a piece of the pie. Because it's been said, it's been said, and I don't agree with this quote, but there's only 3 watch companies with any real history, which I think he was referring to Rolex, Patek Philippe, and probably Breguet.
Yeah, but you tell my dad who cheated on his math exam with a Casio that, and he'll tell you, that's history. I mean, that is 80s rock and roll. history. 100%.
Exactly.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you've got all these younger brands now that, unlike, saying this is who I am, they're trying to fight for this piece of the history pie.
Yeah. But there is some kind of cool allure to the younger rebel that's doing it right. I think that's awesome.
Are you kidding?
I'm rooting for that guy to pull through. And
I've noticed this. I
root for the underdog. Hardcore. Hardcore.
One of my favorite watch brand of all time has no history beyond 1990. FP Jordan. It started in the early 90s. Yeah, and he was a watchmaker for Patek Philippe.
I thought they were old.
No, they're named after Francois Paul Jordan, who
still goes to the Manhattan Boutique.
Who still goes to the Manhattan Boutique.
They got such an old money look about them. I thought they were.
Well, he's just a master watchmaker who loves
He obviously
the
knows his
craft.
stuff.
That's it.
Or what about Kerry Woodalainen? He's not even Swiss. He's from Finland. And he makes some of the most exquisite timepieces out there.
Yeah.
And it's been, 10 years? Not even
10
10
years?
years?
I won't get too into those brands just because, but I love how he does his cases, right? With like those Coin de Vache. It's just,
he takes from history, like it might not be his history, but he takes like historical designs and kind of integrates them.
I think that's in any art form, if you look at cinema, anything, even making an advert, if there's always some kind of, you learn off the masters and recycling and reusing those ideas, that's always when the best art is made.
Yeah.
No, guys, I mean, this is a fantastic discussion, but like we could make a 10-part HBO miniseries.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a lot more nudity, but
exactly.
But I think it's super important to know where we came from. So I'm glad that we did this, guys.
No, it's a pleasure. And listen, everybody comes from somewhere, so I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, seriously, comment in the comment section below. And if you don't already, well, you probably don't follow me if you don't follow anybody. But these two guys, Federico and TGV, I mean, Urban Gentry, right? Two awesome guys from around me. So it's pretty cool that we all get to meet together and do some work.